Welcome to the latest edition of the DoDCast. Today, our Ricky Keeler talks with the manager of the Potomac Nationals, Tripp Keister.
Absolutely. So before we get into some of the prospects that you've got a chance to manage, what did you take away from how your team did last season, making the playoffs? I know it didn't end the way you wanted it to, but what did you take away from last year?
You know, Ricky, we never really. I don't know that we set out. We always want to win, and it's something that we, as an organization, we want to. We don't just want to have major league players. We want to have championship major league players. That's what we want to develop. So winning is important, but it's not something that we talk about. We just talk about, being the best player we can be and being the best that we can be, and then the winning is a byproduct of basically doing things right and doing things properly. And I really believe that. And, the first half, I'll tell you, if you look at our numbers the first half, we went into the last day of the first half, and we were a game under, and we won that for the last game, and we were, I can't remember exactly what, but we were 500 record. And I really felt like we were better than that. And in that second half, we really started off, played well, and even with some promotions with Marmo and Drew and Andrew Stevenson, all got kind of called up there at some point. And I was really impressed with the steps forward that like Ozzie Abreu made and Rowdy Reed, and then we ended up. Fetty really was really went on a stretch there, right from the end of the first half till he got promoted, where he was dominant in our league. And so to see those guys develop and maybe figure some things out as a manager and as someone involved with the guys every day, that's kind of what we want. And then collectively as a group, as our team, we won that second half and ultimately won game one, and then had a epic baseball game two that we ended up coming up short on. And we actually had the winning. We had a one-run lead in the 13th or 12th. I can't even remember what inning it was, but whatever, extra innings, and there's two outs and the guy at second and a blooper hit. And I don't know if you heard the story, but basically Robles, Mejia, and Vedelson all went after the ball to catch it to win the series. I mean, I don't blame them, and it was hitting that spot, and they kind of collided, and Vedelson or Mejia had the ball, and it just tripled out when we ended up playing a couple more innings after that. And anyway, it was just a crazy game. I think we lost in the 13th or 14th, and then we ended up losing the next night in a close one too. So it was a very good season. Didn't end the way we always like it, but a lot of positives can come out of what happened last year. So both individually and as a team. So that stuff is important too.
The first player I wanted to ask you about is Victor Robles, who was one of those promotions that you talked about. Had an injury last season, didn't play as many games, but to be at 19 years old at that advanced of a league, what stood out to you most about him, and how do you think he handled being the youngest player in this league?
That's a great question, and I think that's one of the things that you always worry about when you send a young guy up, and not just with us, but I think with any organization. They don't want to know how he's going to handle playing against guys that are 4 or 5 years older than he is, and there is everybody knows who he is, so he gets their best effort all the time, and he started off hot, and then he hit that little stretch where the league had kind of started pitching him tough, and so he had to adjust, and he ended up getting hurt. He got hit with a 99-mile-an-hour fastball on his wrist, so that'll hurt a lot of guys. So, and Salem, the kid the Kopech kid that throws pretty hard, hit him right in the wrist, and thank goodness it wasn't broken, so he got to come back and play the last 3 weeks of the season, including the playoffs. But it definitely did cut into his development time in the league, and he was really just coming into his own in that when the season ended, like when the playoffs ended. So I was obviously disappointing that he did miss out on some development time there. But he's a dynamic player. He's fearless. He can do anything to win a baseball game. He's got that in his toolbox. He can throw. He can run. He can go get the ball in the outfield. He can hit. He can hit for power. He can steal base. he's just exciting to watch and exciting to see every day. You never really want to miss when he's got a chance to when he's up or on base or something, because it's fun to watch. It really is. I mean, he's young, he's raw, he makes some mistakes, but that's okay. I mean, that's what happens. And we work with him, and he's exciting. It looks like he might start with us again this year, and it'll be exciting to watch again. So the familiarity with he and I too is something that I'm excited about, because I really didn't know him as much. And he comes up and then he was hurt, and so getting a chance to be around him on a daily basis and work with him and get to know him as a person is obviously a big deal with his development as well. So.
Now, you've had a chance to manage a lot of good, talented young pitchers, Lucas Giolito, Ronaldo Lopez, of course, now with the White Sox. But you got a chance to manage Eric Fetty last year, and for a time he was pitching out of his mind. He was dominant. We'll talk more about it in a second. But what do you like about Fetty, and how do you look at him compared to those other two guys I mentioned, Giolito and Lopez, and what do you think his ceiling is?
Yeah, Lucas and Ronaldo and Eric, obviously came and have a lot of fanfare, and they did not disappoint. Eric is, the first thing that comes to mind about him is how athletic he is. You say, well, as a pitcher, but he can do things, athletically, field his position, but he makes adjustments out on the mound. I remember talking to him about his changeup one time, and he said, when guys are really sitting on stuff, he's like, I just try to spread my fingers out and turn it over and get a little sink and get a ground ball there. And just what I mean by that is his ability to make an adjustment and have a feel for what he's doing on the mound is really impressive. He, during that span or that stretch of where he was so dominant, I mean, he was fastball slider, and he was as competitive as I've ever seen him. He didn't want to allow a hit. I mean, he was mad when he allowed a hit. I mean, he was locked in as much as I've seen a guy on the mound. It was he was on a mission, and it was good. It was really impressive to see, and I really look for him to have. He's going to go to Major League Spring Training this year, next week, and I look for him to throw well and pick up right where he left off. I heard he did pretty good in Double-A too. I kind of lose track sometimes when they leave. I try to follow them, but you know how it is. I'm always kind of locked in on my team, and I don't get to look at how they do until maybe 2 days later. So I heard he was throwing really good up there, and he's pretty good, man. I'm excited for him and his future, and he's as competitive as he gets, and he's fun to watch.
Yeah, the numbers on that specifically was the last 7 outings last 8 outings gives up 3 runs over 42 plus innings. So you talk about how you're looking to develop the championship-minded players. When a pitcher like Fetty takes the mound, do you feel like it has sort of impact on sort of the younger hitters on your team, and that, hey, we got this guy on the mound who's striking out 9 or 10, we can play loose and know a couple runs and he's going to shut it down?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I think a lot of us, a lot of people really do feel, and I'm one of them, that, the starting pitcher sets the tone for the game. So, for example, if a pitcher's out throwing on the mound and, ball 1, ball 2, taking his time, and it just puts everybody in a lull and on their heels, and it's a bad way to start the game. And then conversely, with a guy like Fetty, who was pounding the strike zone, working fast, throwing strikes, nasty, it gets guys, that tone that's set there is one that, hey, man, we're gonna score tonight. We all got to do score 1 or 2. We got a chance to win. It was impressive to watch. I mean, there's no doubt. And then obviously when you're striking out that many, you don't have as many plays in the field, so you don't have as many chances to make an error either. So not that we played poor defense, but that's just the nature of the beast. When you have 27 outs to get, you're striking out 10. You only have 17 to get. It's not you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you play better defense behind guys like that. So.
Last 2 years, you've had a chance to manage Drew Ward. Of course, you mentioned Drew got a chance to play in Double-A to end of last season. What improvements did you see in Ward from this past season compared to 2015?
Wow. Drew was also one of the youngest guys in the league. People forget about that. And, he struggled to be consistent in 15. He really did. He struggled with an approach, and I think it was the first time probably in his baseball career that he had kind of met the kind of adversity that he felt and he had. And then he came out, and I actually managed out in that Arizona Fall League, and he came out and played for me there. And I can remember the way that I approached it out there was I'd give my team 2 days in advance of when they were going to play. So I would do the lineup 2 days ahead. So because you couldn't play every day out there, so I wanted the guys to know when they could lift weights and get some working in the cage. And I told Drew, I'll never forget it, our hitting coordinator Troy Rich was out there, and I said, "Look, Drew, you're not going to play for a couple days. Let's get your swing better, and let's get." And I can remember we just on the backfield out in Arizona, and Troy, myself, Drew, we just got a huge bucket of balls and. Look, man, let's figure this out. Let's get you feeling comfortable, because he didn't look comfortable to me. He just didn't. And I asked him, do you feel comfortable? He's like, well, I don't know. Well, let's get you feeling comfortable. And I think he did some things with his swing. He made some adjustments, which mechanical adjustments that he felt a lot better, which I think really helped him. And then he left Arizona with a lot of confidence in his swing and in his ability again. And then pick up last year in spring training, he came and had a really good spring, and then came back to Potomac. And then one of the things that he and Louie and I did is we made it a point that every day we were going to do those drills we did out in Arizona and make sure he was feeling good about himself, for the game. But Ricky, I'm gonna tell you, he really had good at bats every night. Until he was called up, he was one of the better players in the league that had Benintendi, Moncada. And Drew was right there as one of the better players in the league. So I'm going to tell you, the strides that he made making the adjustments with his swing out in Arizona, and then the confidence level that he has, and then coupled with the ability, the talent that he has, very excited about him as well. He's a good young player. He's still very young. I think he just turned 21. I can't. Maybe I'm wrong on that. You would probably know, but he's a young player for already having been in AA. He's probably going to start in AA. He's going to his first big league spring training as well. And he's an exciting player. A lot of scouts, recognize and I know it always come up to me and go, "Man, Drew's really looking good." And it's just funny because I agree. I totally agree. I think Drew is a good-looking young player, and I'm glad we have him. And I think the adversity that he had to fight through with the little bit of adversity he had in 15 really has enabled him to get to where he is now, and he's fought through that a little bit and put that behind him. And not that he won't have some adversity again, but I think now he's feeling better about his swing and what he wants to do and his approach. I think it's really going to help him moving forward.
You mentioned your time coaching in the Arizona Fall League. How is that experience different from coaching at Potomac, and what did you take away from it?
Man, that's a good question. Well, first of all, in the Fall League, you kind of have a mix of everybody. So
right.
You want to make sure you got to play certain guys, and you got to get guys that work in. And the way that I kind of pull, and they're older guys. So with me, it's a little different than guys that have just been in the high A ball in the Carolina League, where we had I think 4 or 5 guys that had been in the big leagues. We had a bunch of guys from AAA, and so first of all, I wanted to make sure they got their work done, because they went out there to get better, and that's first and foremost. I talk with each player about their personal improvement plan for them. How can I help them get better? And really, what it's about. How can I help them? And then the other thing, as a group, I just said, and we had a great group of guys that kind of just said, we're going to play this thing right. And they got competitive, and it was fun to watch. I just said, look, let's play the game right. When the game starts, let's play the game right. Let's be that group that runs balls out, that plays hard. And I'm telling you, it was fun to watch. We had a group, and then what happened was I remember we had a guy come in the middle of the year because a guy got hurt, so they sent us somebody, and he kind of didn't run the ball out. And you should see we had a couple players that whatever said, "Hey man, that's not what we do here." It was just great to watch. But they had an older group that really played the game right, and I think a bunch of guys from that team made their debuts last year, and it was just fun to be around that group. And I got a lot better because it just showed me that when you got players that play the game right. Doesn't matter what level you're at, you're going to have success. And their approach was to come to work every day and play, and it was fun to be around that. So.
Now, one of the players from this past year's fall league you got to manage, and Andrew Stevenson, and a lot of people got introduced to him from that AFL experience because if Gleyber Torres doesn't hit over 400, maybe Stevenson wins the MVP of the fall league. We know his defense is great from the time in college, and I know you can talk about that, but what impressed you most about his offensive game, coming up and hitting over 300 in the 60 games he played in before going up to Double-A?
Well, first of all, our scouts did a great job with him because he's just a really good baseball player. Nothing surprises me about him. He's a ball player. He's smart. He's going to find a way. If he has some failure, he's going to find a way to make an adjustment. And, he has a really good feel for the game. His baseball IQ is very good. Doesn't mean he doesn't have stuff to work on, but in terms of being a ball player, he is exactly what you want in your clubhouse, coming to play every day. So couple that with, his instincts that are fantastic. He can hit, and he's figuring out what pitchers are trying to do to get him out, and he's made some adjustments with his swing. He's made some adjustments with his throwing, where he just continues to work and improve, and I don't put anything past him. He's one of the hardest workers been around. It reminds me in that regard of a Tony Renda that just worked his tail off all the time, ended up getting traded and getting to the big leagues with Cincinnati this year. But he just continues to work and improve, and they went out there, and that was kind of his coming out party out in the Arizona Fall League. Although we already knew that, but I think from within the I think a lot of other people took notice of him too. I know our organization already knew, but yeah, he's a pretty special kid. Special in terms of his approach. I wouldn't put anything past him because he can be successful. He's just so driven, and his baseball IQ is so good. His instincts are good. He's just a ball player, and he's fun to watch every night. I'm pretty full this year, Ricky. Just so you know, I went from Andrew Stevenson to Victor Robles in center field. That's pretty good.
There you go. Yeah, can't go wrong with that one. Now, you got the same coaching staff coming back from last year. Franklin Bravo, your pitching coach, Luis Ordaz, your hitting coach. Yeah. How does that continuity on the staff that you have help you as a manager going into this season, knowing I've got the same coaches around me?
Yeah, it's great. I just try to get out of the way and let those guys do their job. To tell you the truth, they have a job to do every day. And Frank and I have been together. I mean, this is my 6th year in the organization. Frank and I have been together for 5 of those 6. So we've kind of been through a lot together, both personally and professionally. He's a good friend. Not only is he a coworker, but he's a good friend. So, I mean, he's done a great job with all those arms that have come through as well. So, Frankie and I, we have a lot of conversations about how we're going to use guys on a daily basis, and from whether it be the bullpen or the rotation, if we want to make some adjustments and things like that, we got some freedom to discuss that and do some things. And then Louis, not only Louis a really good hitting guy, but he also works with our infielders, being a former infielder. And Louis Ordaz, Drew Ward really benefited from that. And Abreu went out and had a great Arizona Fall League as well, and really came on at the end of the year. And then we just towards the end of the season, about the last 3 weeks, we got a guy who's another really interesting kid that we haven't talked about yet, but Kelvin Gutierrez, and he came up and Louis been working with him too. So no, it's fun to be around those guys and let them do their job, and hopefully we have success. It's worked before, so that's kind of what we do.
You watching from afar, because I'm from New York, so I don't get the chance to watch the games up close, but when you look at the way Robles, Gutierrez, and Max Schrock, who you had before he was traded, those 3 coming up from Hagerstown, as red hot as they were, what kind of impact did that have on your lineup, knowing you got these 3 players who are red hot right now and coming right in and just picking up right where they left off, it seemed?
Yeah, it definitely gave us a jolt of energy. We lost Ward and Stevenson. In order to get Robles and Schrock, we lost Ward and Stevenson. So, we were. I had never seen Victor. I shouldn't say that. Victor had never played for me, even in like instructional league or spring training or anything. So I just watched him do his drills and watched him from afar. But and then Schrock came up and was. He really hit well. Kind of those two gave us a really jolt of energy, and it was fun to watch those two go. But I think Victor coming back. I think Victor getting hurt, getting hitting the wrist and him miss that time. I think he'll probably come back and start with me again. You never know, but who knows? But it looks like that might happen.
Last question for you before I let you go. You said you've been with this organization for 6 years, so how would you best describe your time in this organization?
What do you mean?
Like, what have you taken away from being with this organization for 6 years? What has stuck with you the most over this time?
Well, I think, when I got here, we hadn't had success at the big league level. And then when I first came here in 2012 was my first year, we had the best record in the National League. And I think everyone knows our what's happened in the postseason, I think is really, something that we haven't, we have to get through and get past. And I think a lot of people are working for that. The word that I would use at working for the Nationals is invested. I feel very invested with the players that I've had come through and the people that are here, and I know how hard they work. I know how much they care. I know how talented they are, whether it be the scouts, the player development. Our job is to get these guys, ultimately to the major league. But it's my job to get them to the next level, to have success, and then it's the next guy's job to get him to the next level, and that's kind of the way it works. We're passing the baton, and that's kind of the way it goes. And it's been fun to watch. I think I can't really imagine how I could have felt worse after watching Game 5 last year, and that was ours. I really feel like that was ours, and I really want to pass that first round. I think everybody does, and I think everybody's working hard, and it's a bad taste in their mouth to get us past that point. Trust me, I think we all want to see this thing through, and we feel like we've gotten players ready for the long haul, and to have sustained success. And I think it's time to. I think they definitely have the right manager. Dusty's, seemed as if last year all the players really played for him, and I think just want to take that next step and let's win around, and let's see if we can stay in that tournament a little longer.
I asked Patrick Anderson, who is the Hagerstown manager, this. I'll ask you the same question. When you see a player that you've managed get that call up to the big leagues and make the impact like we saw with Giolito, with Lopez, with Sammy Solis last year, Coda Glover even for a time last year. I know I'm only naming pitchers, but how does it feel for you as a manager when you watch those players make that impact with the Washington Nationals, or if they do end up getting traded with another big league organization?
I mean, that's kind of an easy question to answer, but obviously you feel great. It's a culmination of a lot of hard work when that player gets moved up, when gets to the major league. It's something that Spencer Keeler last year, Coda Glover, guys that you really care about because you've been with them for a long time. Every day, and see how hard they work. But so obviously you feel great, but I never feel like it's about me. So I don't. I'm happy for them. I mean, my job is to do that, is to work with them and get them to be the best they can be. But, I would never be judged by just, you got 17 guys played in the major leagues. Well, I also know that there's some guys that play for us that have worked their tails off and have maxed out their ability, and maybe they only got to AAA. So But you know what? Those guys made guys better, and maybe they made the guys that did get to the major leagues better because they were a great teammate and they worked real hard, and those guys kind of followed their lead. So I think the culture that's set within our team is very important. It's one of working hard. It's one of, obviously, it's a game, so you have fun. But I think whenever a guy gets called up to the major leagues, of course, I mean, you'll love it. You'll love watching, Pedro Severino catch. Pedro Severino was my catcher, called for I shouldn't say my catcher, was called for the team I was managing 3 years in a row. So when you see him go to the major leagues, and do an interview in English on ESPN, that's pretty cool to watch that. When I knew he couldn't even speak English 3 years ago, so he was very limited with his English. So that that kind of stuff is fun and it's great stories. But man, you really root for those kids that get that call, and you hope they can have success and stay up there. Trust me, it is a good feeling, but it's not really about me. I will tell you that I try to pass them, make sure when they leave me, they've gotten everything they can to be successful and at the next level, and then I'm on to the next guy, and I'm trying to do that with the next group that they give me. So that's fine.
Tripp, again, thanks for taking the time with us. Best of luck this season with the team that you'll be managing, and I look forward to talking to you down the road. Thanks for the time.
You got it, Ricky. Thanks, man. Wish you the best.
You can follow Ricky Keeler at Rickinator555 on Twitter, and you can follow District on Deck on Twitter at